Welcome, sleepy traveler. You've arrived at a quiet space made just for you. My name is Valarie, and I am here to guide you gently into rest, to help ease your mind, soften your body, and drift you toward a peaceful, uninterrupted sleep. Whether your day was long or your thoughts feel a little too loud tonight, let this be your permission to slow down, to breathe, and to simply be. There's nothing more to do now. Just allow my voice to be your guide as we begin this gentle journey toward deep, nourishing rest. If you're new here, subscribe for sleep content like this, and like this video if you find it enjoyable. Now let's begin. You've arrived at a soft place to rest. This is your time. A space where nothing is expected of you. No one needs anything. And nothing must be done. It's okay to let go now. Let's slowly settle in. Begin by noticing your breath. Not changing it, just observing. Soft, slow, and steady. A quiet rhythm. Rising and falling like ocean waves at dusk. Inhale gently through your nose. And exhale softly through your mouth. Feel the cool air enter and the warmth leave. Again, inhale and exhale. Feel your body begin to soften. Notice your shoulders. Allow them to drop just a little. Let any tension melt down your arms and out through your fingertips. Let your jaw release. You do not need to hold it. Let your tongue rest softly in your mouth. Allow your eyes to become heavy, or let them gently close if they haven't already. There is no right or wrong. You are welcome just as you are. Now bring your attention to your neck and gently scan downward through your chest, your ribs, your belly. If your breath feels tight, it's okay. If your mind is racing, that's okay too. This space allows all of you. You don't need to quiet the mind. Just notice it with kindness, like watching clouds drift across the sky. Some clouds heavy, some light, all passing. Let your breath be your anchor. Let it gently guide you back whenever you drift. Now bring your awareness to the bed beneath you. Feel its softness supporting you. The gentle pull of gravity. You do not need to hold yourself up. You can simply be. Allow your arms to grow heavy, your legs to relax, your feet to soften, like you're sinking into a warm cloud. Nothing to push against, nowhere to be. Just floating gently in stillness. I'll be here with you. There's no need to listen closely. You may let these words wash over you, even if you don't hear everyone. Your body still knows how to rest. It remembers. This is your time to return home to yourself, to reconnect with the quiet within. Now take another slow, gentle breath. In through the nose and out through the mouth. With each exhale, imagine letting go. Let go of your day. Let go of thoughts. Let go of effort. This is a sacred pause, a return to softness, a return to peace. Notice now how your body feels. Perhaps a little heavier, a little more at ease. That's enough. You are doing enough. You are enough. Your breath continues like a lullaby, cradling you deeper into calm. Inhale and exhale. Soften your brow. Relax your hands. Let go of your stomach. Feel how the bed receives you so fully, so kindly. There's nothing to prove, nothing to earn. Only rest. You're allowed to rest. You deserve to rest. Imagine now a gentle golden light, starting just above your head, slowly drifting down. It's warm, comforting, safe. This light touches your forehead, soothing your thoughts. It moves down, over your cheeks, your jaw, your throat. Let it glide across your chest, warming your heart space. You are deeply loved by this moment, by this breath. This golden light continues to move down your arms, your hands, your fingertips. It flows through your torso, through your hips, your thighs, your knees, down to your calves and ankles, and finally to the soles of your feet. You are glowing. You are whole. Let the light rest with you now. Let your thoughts drift like autumn leaves on a quiet river. No need to follow. Just let them pass. The current of your breath will carry you deeper and deeper into rest, into stillness, into peace. And as we prepare to drift further, just know you are safe. You are cherished. You are enough. This night is yours. This rest is your gift. Let go now. Let go. And drift deeper and deeper into sleep. The bookstore doors glide open with a soft sigh. Not with a clang or jingle, just a hush like a breath exhaled into twilight. You step inside. The scent of old paper and worn leather immediately embraces you. Like a warm blanket folded from memory, the aroma wraps around your shoulders, pulling you deeper. This is no ordinary store. Here, time wanders just like you. No clocks tick. No lights glare. Soft amber sconces line the walls, glowing like candlelight caught in glass. They cast gentle halos along the wood-paneled aisles. Books rest on shelves like sleeping cats, quiet, curled, and content. Each title hums a lullaby. Each page is a soft sigh. And every corner invites you to slow, to linger. You walk with padded steps across the thick carpet, muffled in plush. There's no rush here. No announcements, no urgency. The only sound is the occasional rustle of a page turning. Somewhere in the distance, the aisles seem to shift gently like a dream. One moment you are near cookbooks with faded hand-scribbled notes tucked between the pages. The next, you're among atlases where inked rivers flow toward lands of lullabies. You pause at a shelf titled Stories to Rest In. A small handwritten sign leans to one side, as if even it is nodding off. You pull a book gently from its place. The cover is soft, like felt warmed by sunlight. You open to the first page and the words drift up. Not as ink, but as whispers. Once, in a town with rain that only fell when people needed to cry, a quiet boy built a raft from library cards and sailed into dreams. The story seems to read itself, flowing through your thoughts without effort. Your eyes grow heavy, though the tale is light. Not heavy with tiredness, just softened, soothed. You close the book gently and tuck it back. A warm presence lingers in your palms. Like the story kissed your skin. As you step away, you pass a cozy nook between two shelves. Inside is a velvet chair. It looks like it remembers every back that ever leaned into it. A soft lap blanket waits folded over the armrest. You sit, and it's like the chair sighs beneath you. You pull the blanket over your legs. There is a book already resting on the arm. It's called The Library of Forgotten Afternoons. You open to a middle page and read. It was always the golden hour in her garden, where the bees hummed lullabies and the teacups never cooled. The words ripple with calm, each sentence like a wave pulling you gently further from the shore. Your eyes begin to drift. The book slips slightly from your hand, resting open on your lap. You look up across the store. past rows of books glowing faintly. There is no night or day here, only in between. You rise again, slowly. The blanket trails for a moment before you leave it folded back in its place. You wander deeper into the bookstore. You pass a section labeled Dreamscapes. The books here are made of silk. When you brush your fingertips across their spines, it feels like touching clouds. One book opens itself as you pass. Its pages turn without wind. A soft blue light pulses from between the paragraphs. You lean in, and a voice, not quite your own, says gently, "Lie back, traveler. You've come far enough tonight." You follow the voice, not with steps, but with breath. Inhale, soft, slow. Exhale, like pages turning. The bookstore deepens. Not darker, but quieter. Like the hush after snowfall. You notice a stairwell now. Its steps are lined with soft rugs and glowing words. You descend gently, guided by a string of tiny lights tucked into the railings. At the bottom, a wide room opens like a breath released. It is a reading room, but more than that. Here, people sleep beside stories. Plush beds and nests of pillows are scattered across the floor. Some lie in quiet corners under canopies of books. Others recline beneath domes made of fairy tale pages. Soft music flows from somewhere unseen. Not quite a song, not quite silence. A rhythm that matches your breath. You find a space just for you. A round pillow nest near a low shelf. You ease down into it. The softness welcomes your weight. It knows how to hold you. You curl gently on your side. Above you, a mobile of tiny books hangs and spins slowly. Each one is closed, but you know they're filled with dreams. Stories you might visit later. For now, you rest. The bookstore watches over you. Its shelves tall and quiet. Somewhere a page turns. A distant voice whispers a bedtime tale. The lights dim just a little more. A breeze of lavender drifts through the air, curling like a bookmark in the wind. The pillow beneath you adjusts, sinking slightly, perfectly. You exhale again, slower now. Your limbs grow heavy, your breath even. The stories hum like lullabies through the shelves. No one will wake you here. No alarm will ring. This is the bookstore that never closes. And you, dear wanderer, have found your chapter of rest. Let the shelves stand tall beside you. Let the pages turn in dreams. Let the story carry you gently, softly, completely into sleep. They always said I had too many dreams, like it was an illness, something to outgrow. But the sea never minded. It listened. Every night, it pulled my restless thoughts into the tide, whispering them back in a language only I seemed to understand. That's why when the lighthouse began glowing with moonlight instead of fire, I didn't run. I followed it. They say the sea here listens more than it speaks. In the early morning, when the fog is still curled around the dunes like sleepy cats, you can hear it whisper, faint, like a breath against your neck. And at night, when the village falls into hush, it carries dreams. That's what my grandmother used to tell me. Dreams go drifting into the tide, Penny. That's why some mornings the shore is full of seafoam secrets. Maybe that's why I dream too much. I've always been that girl, the one who stares too long at clouds and asks too many questions about the way stars curl around each other. The one who falls asleep in class because her dreams refuse to wait for bedtime. the one who draws staircases to the sky and bottles of bottled thunder. It's like something in me never quite rests. Even when I sleep, I wander. The villagers are kind enough, but I've caught the way they glance at me sometimes. Not unkindly, just knowingly. Like they've decided I'm made more of stories than skin. I don't blame them. I suppose I've always lived halfway between the waking and the wondering. Tonight, sleep has once again refused to visit. The walls of my room feel too tight, like they're closing in with the hush of night, and my pillow keeps catching the edges of thoughts that won't settle. So I slip out of bed, careful not to wake the creaking floorboards or the wind chime on my door. I wrap a shawl around my shoulders and tiptoe out into the midnight hush. The village is still, the cottages curled into themselves like resting cats. Only the waves speak, soft shushing sounds that I know like the rhythm of my own breath. I pass the crooked fence by the fishmonger's house and the leaning sycamore near the old bakery. My feet know the way even if I don't quite decide where I'm going. Somewhere along the walk, I find myself drawn toward the cliffs. It's strange. I don't come this way often at night. The cliffs are quiet and sharp, and the sea down below crashes harder here, less gentle. But something pulls at me, a thread of silver thought that I can't quite ignore. I follow it like a ribbon tied to my chest. And then I see it, the lighthouse. It's standing tall and alone at the far edge of the cliffs, just as it always has. But something's different. Instead of the usual amber flicker of firelight at the top, the tower glows with a soft silver-blue beam that hums faintly in the dark. It doesn't spin fast like a warning light, no. It moves slow and smooth, like a finger tracing a lullaby across the sky. It isn't searching the sea, it's searching the stars. I blink hard, thinking maybe I'm still caught in the edges of a dream. But the air is cool and real, salt on my lips, and my bare feet can feel the slight tremble of wind through the grass. No ships are out tonight. None have passed in days. Our harbor's been empty since the weather changed 2 weeks ago. So why is the lighthouse glowing? I step closer, curiosity replacing hesitation. The light doesn't hurt to look at. It's gentle, soft like moonlight filtered through waves. It sweeps past me, and for the briefest second, I feel like it sees me. Not just looks, but sees, as if the beam knows me in a way even the village never has. Like it's searching for something inside me, too. I sit at the cliff's edge, legs dangling over the side, and wrap my shawl tighter around my shoulders. The longer I watch, the more I notice. The light is pulsing gently, almost like a heartbeat. It casts glimmers across the cliffside grass, turning dew into tiny constellations. The beam dances with the sky, not lighting it, but listening to it. Every pass feels like a quiet question. What are you seeking? The thought slips into my mind like it was placed there. Maybe I'm going mad. Maybe this is what happens when you live too much in your dreams. But somehow I don't feel scared. I feel understood. When I was little, I used to think the moon had a secret window just for people like me. People who couldn't sleep, who wandered and wondered too much. I imagined that window opened only when the world was quiet enough to hear dreams breathing. This light feels like that window cracked open. The beam pauses, hovering above the trees behind the village, then slowly sweeps out to sea again. I let myself lie back in the grass. The stars above me are brighter than usual, clustered like stories waiting to be read. I close my eyes just for a moment, listening to the hum of the lighthouse and the breath of the ocean below. And then I hear something, a faint melody, not coming from the waves or the wind, but from the light itself. It hums, not quite music, not quite voice, just a feeling translated into sound. It's the kind of thing you only notice if you're very still, very quiet inside. It sounds like a memory. No, like a dream I haven't dreamed yet. It rises and falls like the sea's own lullaby. I don't know how long I lie there listening. Time folds in on itself, and the cliffs feel both vast and close. The light passes over me again, and each time I feel something inside me soften. Then I feel something shift. In the far distance, just beyond the lighthouse, something flickers, a small glint low on the horizon. I sit up. It's faint, like a star that fell but forgot to disappear. A silver pulse hovering just above the water. Then another one appears, and another, like fireflies but slower, softer, dreamier. They don't move like boats. They float, shimmer, drift. I realize they're not lights on the sea. They're dreams, floating above the water. Some are pale blue and shimmering. Others are dusky rose or golden cream. They blink slowly, lazily, like they're half asleep themselves. And the lighthouse beam? It sweeps over them gently, one at a time, and each dream glows brighter in response, as if being remembered. I hold my breath. The dreams are real. Or maybe I'm dreaming, but if so, it's the clearest dream I've ever had. I reach out a hand, even though I know they're far too distant to touch. One of them, one shaped like a tiny silver feather, drifts a little closer. I feel something press gently against my palm, not physical, not heat, more like emotion. A soft memory, maybe. I can't quite name it, but it feels like the comfort of being sung to sleep when I was small, like safety, like being held. A tear slips down my cheek, and I don't even know why. It isn't sadness. It's more like my heart suddenly remembered something it had been missing for years. The feather glows for a moment, then drifts higher into the sky, where it disappears like morning mist. The beam follows it up, and then the light pauses, points straight down, at me. I freeze. Not out of fear, but reverence. It feels like the light is asking a question, not with words, but with silence. I think it's asking me if I want to follow. Not physically. My body is still curled in the grass. But something inside me stirs. Something that feels like it's always lived closer to the stars than the soil. I don't speak aloud, but in my mind I whisper, yes. The next moment is hard to describe. My body stays still, but my spirit, or whatever it is that dreams are made from, lifts, not away from me, but deeper inside me, like stepping through a doorway within my own breath. And suddenly I'm in the lighthouse, not walking, just there. It's not what I expected. Inside there are no walls, only a spiral of light stretching upward. I float in the middle of it, surrounded by a sea of drifting dreams. Some are shaped like boats, others like birds or music notes or closed books. They hum softly, content. Then a voice, not loud but clear, echoes inside me. You dream too much, it says, not unkindly. I nod. I've heard that before. But the voice continues. That's why we called you. The light pulses. Somewhere in the world, there are dreams that get lost, forgotten, left behind. They drift too far and can't find their way back. This lighthouse does not guide ships. It guides dreams home. I stare at the spiral above me, the beam now sweeping across constellations I didn't know existed. You have the heart of a dream keeper, Penelope. Would you help us gather the strays? I want to speak, but no words come. I just place my hand on my chest and nod, then begin with your own. And suddenly I'm back, lying in the grass, the moon above me, the beam sweeping once more as if nothing had happened. But something had. Inside me, I feel a new warmth, a flicker of silver glow behind my ribs, a thread of moonlight tied to something larger than myself. The sea whispers beside me, and I think it says, "Welcome." I don't know exactly what this means or what I've agreed to, but I know this. I'm not just the girl who dreams too much anymore. I'm the girl who follows them. I followed the sea path like a secret I hadn't meant to uncover. The cliffs were slick with mist and moonlight, and each step I took was quieter than the last, as though the wind itself was holding its breath for me. The lighthouse stood farther than I'd realized, taller too, its soft silver glow not blinding but beckoning. It didn't blaze. It shimmered, like a held-in breath. The beam swirled not across the sea, but the sky, dancing slowly through the stars like it was combing them for something. I didn't know what I was looking for, only that I had to reach the top. By the time I reached the iron gate at the base, my legs trembled, but not from exhaustion. Something in the air here was different, light, expectant, a little like the space just before a dream begins. The gate creaked open before I even touched it. The door to the lighthouse stood ajar. Inside, the scent of salt, oil, and moonflowers wrapped around me like an old story. The spiral stairs curved endlessly upward, but there was no dust, no cobwebs, only light, pooling softly on each stair as I climbed. It wasn't until I reached the lantern room that I saw him, the keeper. He was leaning over a long pane of curved glass, adjusting a strange-looking mechanism that reminded me of a music box made from starlight and gears. He didn't look up, just spoke in a voice so gentle I felt it in my chest before I heard it with my ears. "You're late," he said, though there was no judgment in it, only quiet recognition. "I didn't know I was expected," I replied honestly. Now he turned. His eyes, pale as sea foam and just as deep, met mine. His hair looked like it had been woven from dusk, and his long coat shimmered like a raven's wing. I couldn't guess his age. Not truly. He looked both young and impossibly old, like someone who had lived through every story I'd ever dreamed. "Solon," he said, nodding slightly. "Keeper of the moonlight beam." I nodded in return. "Penelope, of the village of, well, dreams, I guess." At that, a faint smile touched his lips. "Yes," he said. "You've been lighting your own signals for a long time now. Did you really think we wouldn't notice?" "I thought I was just strange." He chuckled then, but it wasn't mocking. It was like rain tapping on a window in winter, gentle, knowing. "No, Penelope. You're what the wind calls a lantern heart, a rare kind of dreamer, one whose dreams burn bright enough to guide others home." He stepped aside and motioned for me to look through the glass of the beacon's great eye. I leaned forward, expecting to see the sea or stars or maybe both. But what I saw instead stole the breath from my lungs. Dreams, dozens, hundreds, each a glimmering orb of color and shape fluttering through the night like weightless fireflies. Some were soft and sleepy, others shimmering with joy or sorrow or longing. They moved slowly at first, drifting without direction, until the beam swept over them. And then they changed course, as though pulled toward something, toward someone. "Each of those belongs to someone who once dared to dream," Solon said softly beside me. "But dreams are fragile. They can get lost in windstorms, tangled in tides. Sometimes people forget them, abandon them, or sometimes they're too afraid to follow where they lead. And so the dreams wander. This lighthouse gathers them and sends them home." I couldn't look away. One tiny flickering dream paused right in front of the lens. A tiny sailboat made of folded paper, with ink-stained edges and a wind-blown ribbon as its mast. "That one's looking for a child who stopped believing she could draw," Solon whispered. "She let go of it last spring when her sketchbook got soaked in a rainstorm." The sailboat quivered as the moonlight beam passed over it, then turned sharply eastward and vanished into the stars. "But it's going back now," I said, amazed. He nodded. "If the dream is still wanted, it will find its way. If not, it waits." I touched the glass, not to change anything, just to feel closer. "And you do this every night?" "Every night and most days," he replied, "though not all dreams wait for darkness to drift." There was silence then, not awkward, just filled with the hush of something sacred. After a long moment, Solon turned back to his silver gears and resumed his work. I stayed at the window, watching the dreams swirl. But something tugged at me, not outside, but inside. A quiet humming under my ribs. I pressed a hand to my chest, puzzled. "That's your own dreamlight," Solon said without looking up. "Strong tonight, isn't it?" I turned toward him. "What does that mean?" "You've been drawing others in without realizing it." Do you ever wake up with feelings that aren't your own? Sorrow that you can't name, joy that flickers and fades before you even open your eyes? I swallowed. Yes, all the time. You've been guiding dreams back to their dreamers without knowing it, he said. It's part of your gift. That's why the lighthouse called to you, why you saw the beam when others didn't. I took a shaky breath. So I'm like you? He smiled again, more gently this time. You could be, if you want to be. The room brightened just slightly, the beam humming faintly like a lullaby sung by the stars. I don't know what to do, I said honestly. I've always thought dreams were just mine, wild and strange and maybe a little too much. They are yours, Solon said. But some dreams are meant to be shared. Some aren't just stories. They're paths, lanterns, keys. He reached into his coat and pulled out something that looked like a compass. But instead of cardinal directions, the face held shifting symbols. A feather, a flame, a teardrop, a tree, and a spiral. "This is for you," he said, placing it in my palm. "It doesn't point north, it points to longing." I stared at it. Why would I need that? "Because sometimes dreams don't come to us," he said. "Sometimes we have to go to them." The symbols shimmered softly in my hand. The spiral was glowing brightest, pulsing like a heartbeat. "What does the spiral mean?" I asked. "Return," he said simply. "Not to where you've been, but to who you've always been deep down." I sat down on the small wooden bench by the window, my head full and heart fuller. "What if I'm not ready?" I asked. "No dreamer ever is," he said. "But the beam doesn't wait for readiness. It waits for honesty. And you have that already." We watched the dreams for a while longer, saying little. Every so often one would pause by the glass. Sometimes a tiny music box, sometimes a laughing child made of stars, sometimes a key without a lock. And then something happened. One of the dreams, no larger than a thimble, shaped like a folded letter, drifted toward the lens, then stopped. It didn't move forward. It didn't move away. I leaned closer. "It's not going anywhere," I said. Solon frowned, then stepped forward. "Because it's not meant for someone else," he murmured. "It's meant for you." The letter hovered there, trembling. I reached for it with both hands. As my fingers closed around it, it melted, not into ash or light, but into memory. My breath caught. It was my dream, one I had long forgotten, a wish I'd whispered to the tide as a child. Let me help the lonely dreams find their way. Tears pricked my eyes. Solon nodded once, as though he'd known all along. You've always known, he said. You just didn't have the words yet. The moonlight beam slowed, then swept once more across the stars. The dreams shimmered in answer. I want to stay, I said quietly. I want to learn. Solon's smile deepened. Then come back tomorrow. There's more than just watching. There's mending, listening, and sometimes dreaming on behalf of others until they remember how. I stepped out of the lighthouse as dawn painted the sea gold and peach. The beam dimmed behind me, but in my chest something glowed steady and sure. The dreams would come again, and this time I'd be ready. I had started to recognize the scent of dreams. They came in on the sea mist, salted with longing, laced with quiet laughter or brittle silence, sometimes light as the hush before sleep, sometimes too dense to carry. Solon taught me how to listen for them in the wind, how to catch them not with nets, but with stillness. Some dreams looked like feathers, soft, silvery, sometimes floating sideways on an invisible current. Others were melodies, curling into the air like lullabies hummed under breath. The strangest were flickers of light that sparked and then disappeared, like fireflies unsure of where to land. Solon would say, "These are dreams on their way home. They just forget the direction sometimes." And we'd guide them, gently, carefully, like helping birds find their flock. But one night, everything changed. It was quiet, the kind of quiet that isn't empty but waiting. The sky held no stars, only a deep velvet blue, and the mist rolled in slower than usual. Solon and I stood at the cliff's edge, just where the lighthouse beam brushed the sea like a fingertip. That's when we saw it. It didn't float. It dragged, thick and low and heavy, a shadow more than a shape. I felt it before I saw it, an ache low in my ribs, like the echo of a forgotten cry. The air cooled around it, not cold like winter, but hollow like a room that had been emptied too fast. Solon stepped back, his face unreadable in the moonlight. That one hasn't moved in years. It's stuck? I asked, watching the thing twist. No light, no hum, no color. It's forgotten, he whispered. A dream lost too long ago. Its dreamers moved on, doesn't even remember they ever wished it. That's awful. My voice cracked. It happens more than you'd think. He folded his arms. We can't help them all. I took a step forward. The dream pulsed once, faintly, like something trying to remember how to breathe. But we can try, I said. Solon didn't answer right away. I waited, eyes still fixed on the forgotten dream. Finally, he exhaled. If you mean that, really mean it, there's something I can show you. We returned to the lighthouse. Inside, the walls shimmered with soft, unsteady light. Glimpses of dreams resting in the corners, some tucked into bottles, others sleeping between the pages of sea-worn books. Solon opened a drawer in the lowest part of his desk, where moonbeams pooled like spilled milk. From it he lifted a scroll, impossibly fine, almost translucent. He unrolled it. It wasn't paper. It was thread, woven so tightly and delicately that it looked like frost on glass. Silver threads curled and tangled into paths, arcs, spirals, even knots. Each shimmered slightly, like starlight trying to stay still. "This," Solon said softly, "is the map of forgotten dreams." I couldn't speak. It was the most heartbreakingly beautiful thing I'd ever seen. "It traces them," he explained, running a finger over one of the lines. "The paths they took, where they were born, where they got lost. The knots, those are where the dream got stuck, tangled in grief or silence or fear." I leaned closer. One of the lines pulsed softly when I looked at it, like it knew. "Can I follow this one?" I asked, pointing to the dream we'd seen by the sea. Solon hesitated. "It's not safe. Some knots are made of sorrow so deep it becomes something else. But the map responds to those who still carry dreaming hearts." "I do," I whispered. "I've always dreamed too much." He studied me a moment longer, then smiled gently, sadly. "Then take it. But you must listen with more than ears, feel with more than your hands, and be gentle with what you find." The dream led me inland. Solon remained behind, tending to the other wandering dreams. I carried the moon thread map rolled into a silver cylinder he gave me, tucked into the pocket of my long coat. It hummed quietly, the sound of distant lullabies and unopened letters. The path wound through the marshes first, hazy lands where reeds whispered half-formed wishes. At night, I would unroll the map, and the threads would shimmer faintly, adjusting to my steps. I'd follow the shimmer until it bent toward a grove of willows or dipped under a crumbling bridge. But the closer I got, the heavier the dream felt. I didn't see it, but I could feel it, a pull just behind my heart, like something calling but afraid of being found. On the 5th night, I found the first knot. It was tangled in a thicket behind an abandoned garden, a place overgrown with ivy and soft rust. I could feel the memory of laughter lingering here, childlike, bright but faded. The knot glowed faintly, gray and blue, like a storm in still water. I placed my hand near it. A flicker, a bedroom, walls painted sky blue. A small desk covered in paper stars. A child's voice whispering, "Someday I'll build a flying boat, one that sails above the clouds." And then silence. The thread went dark. I gasped, the cold rushing into my chest. The dream had started as wonder. It got lost when the child stopped believing it could happen. Maybe someone told them to grow up. Maybe someone laughed. I whispered into the knot, It was a beautiful dream. I remember it now. The thread pulsed once and then slowly untangled. The dream continued its path forward. I followed. I found 3 more knots over the next week. One tangled in an alley between closed shops where a violin had once been played by someone who forgot how to hope. Another near a dried-up wishing well, where a girl had once whispered for the strength to speak up. And one in a train station, left behind in a suitcase of notebooks and songs. Each time I listened. Each time the map answered, threads loosening, the dream growing lighter, trying to remember what it was made of. But the last knot, the final one in the dream's path, was different. I arrived at a small cottage by a cove. The shutters were open, though no one was inside. It felt familiar somehow, like a story I'd almost heard once. The map glowed brighter than ever before, threads twitching slightly as though nervous. The dream was inside. No shape, no color, just a presence. A silence thick as sorrow. I stepped in. There were books here, letters unsent. A coat hung on the wall, long unused. Dust lay soft over everything, like snow that never melted. And then I saw it. On the small desk by the window, an old drawing, a lighthouse, a girl standing beneath it, in my own hand. My heart stopped. This was my dream, not someone else's, mine. I staggered back, the truth crashing in all at once. The dream we'd found, the sorrowful one, was a dream I had made once, long ago. I remembered now. I was maybe 10. I had written stories about a magical lighthouse that gathered lost dreams. I used to tell my little sister bedtime tales about it. I'd draw it over and over again, promising her that one day I'd build it for real, or at least find it. But time passed. She grew up. I stopped believing in the stories. I tucked the dream away, and it had waited. All this time, it had waited to be found. I dropped to my knees. "I'm sorry," I whispered. "I forgot you. I let you go." The dream didn't answer, but it softened. Like breath let out after holding too long, I touched the desk, the drawing. "I still believe," I said, voice shaking. "I believe again." And suddenly the air changed. Light spilled from the paper like a silver tide. The dream took form, not a heavy knot, but a glowing curl of moonlight that wrapped around my shoulders like a familiar embrace. It shimmered, lifted, and floated toward the door, lighter than mist, eager to return. I followed it all the way back to the lighthouse. Solon stood on the steps, waiting, lantern in hand. When he saw the dream coiling around my shoulders, he nodded, eyes full of something like pride. "You did more than follow it," he said. "You remembered it." I handed him the moon thread map, now brighter than ever. No more knots on its path. "It was mine," I said. He smiled gently. "Some of the hardest dreams to guide home are our own." The dream hovered, then slowly melted into the lighthouse's beam. And for the first time, it wasn't searching, it was returning. That night, I didn't sleep. I dreamed awake, and for the first time, the dream stayed. I never thought a map could shimmer like a secret. The moon thread that Solon gave me wasn't made of parchment or paper. It danced, alive, between my fingers like a silver ripple on quiet water. Lines pulsed like breath, not drawn with ink but sown with glow. Each curve traced the journey of a forgotten dream, and now I was following it. The dreaming sea stretched ahead, wide and waiting. My boat, if you could call it that, was shaped like a cradle, stitched from lullabies I'd hummed in sleep and strands of stardust Solon wove for me. It rocked gently on waters that didn't move like real water. They pulsed softly, like sighs or distant heartbeats, glittering with memory and mist. I whispered to the sea, "I'm ready." It answered with silence and a gentle tug forward. Time doesn't behave in the dreaming sea. One moment felt like an entire night, the next like a single blink. The sky above wasn't a sky at all, but a swirling veil of memory, emotion, and light. Stars blinked out and reappeared, each carrying a forgotten whisper. As I drifted, the moon thread in my hand glowed gently whenever I neared a dream. The first one found me before I found it. A giggle, then another. Bubbles of golden laughter burst in the air like soft bells. I turned to see something bobbing beside my boat. A dream. It looked like a patchwork kite, sewn from bright colors and drifting without wind. As it rose closer, it took the form of a child made of sunshine and song, skipping across the surface of the sea. "Who are you?" I asked, smiling. "I'm what remains of someone's favorite summer," it said, grinning wide. Running through sprinklers, melting popsicles, grass stains, and raspberry fingers, they laughed so hard they forgot to remember me. The dream twirled in the air, leaving glitter in its wake. "Are you lost?" I asked. "Not sad lost, just not needed anymore." It gave a carefree shrug. "But it's nice to be seen again." I reached out, and it spun gently in my palm, weightless and warm. For a moment I remembered a laugh that wasn't mine but still rang familiar. Then, like mist, the dream winked and drifted back into the sea, glowing a little brighter than before. I sailed deeper. The colors around me darkened, not in menace, but in mystery. The next dream came quietly, like a shadow curling beneath my boat. It didn't take a shape at first, just a chill. Then a ripple of black velvet rose beside me, and from it emerged a pair of eyes, wide, sad, and uncertain. "Hello," I whispered, cautious. It didn't answer. "I'm Penelope. I'm here to help." Still no words. But it moved closer, tentatively. It didn't hiss or claw or twist. It just hovered, lost. "You're a nightmare, aren't you?" I asked gently. The eyes blinked once, slowly. Then a voice, thin as thread, replied, "Not always." I used to be a dream of protection, of warning, but fear clung to me and now they run from me. Its form was cold to the touch, not cruel. It trembled. I reached out carefully and placed a hand on the shadow's edge. Sometimes the things we fear are just asking to be understood. The nightmare leaned in. I felt it shiver. Then from its depths came a tiny light, faint but real. It pulsed like hope. They used to dream of storms, it murmured, because storms meant staying inside. Warm cocoa, candlelight, safety. I tried to remind them, and they forgot. Yes, I let the nightmare rest beside me, cradled in the lullaby boat. And for a while we drifted like old friends. When the shadow finally slipped away, it left the faint scent of rain and something tender beneath. Further still, I journeyed. I followed the moon thread into a stretch of the sea that glowed soft violet, dreamlight. The waves shimmered with lullabies left unfinished. There I saw it, a figure sitting on a floating bookshelf, legs dangling, eyes distant. It wasn't a child, though the dream was. A wistful shape, like a drawing in faded pastel, a bear in one arm, a toy boat in the other, and yet the face was older, lined, worn. I used to belong to someone who believed, the dream said before I could speak. Its voice was hushed like dust. Believed in what? Magic, adventure, that they could talk to the moon. It smiled faintly. But they grew up. I nodded. That happens. But they didn't mean to forget me, it added quickly, as though defending its dreamer. They were just tired, busy. They packed me in a box with old drawings and birthday cards. I felt something heavy in my chest. I knew that kind of forgetting, the quiet kind. Do you want to go back? I asked. The dream looked down at the toy boat in its hand. I don't know, maybe just be remembered, even for a second. I reached into my satchel and pulled out a shell, one Solon gave me. When I held it close, it hummed with the memory of voices and waves. I offered it to the dream. If they ever listen closely to a shell like this, I said, they might hear your voice, just for a second. The dream's eyes softened. Thank you. Then it sank into the sea, becoming a ripple of warm blue and gold. A lullaby not forgotten, just resting. The moon thread map pulsed again, brighter this time, urgent. A storm had formed ahead, not of thunder or lightning, but of tangled thoughts. I sailed into it. The sea grew wild with color, flashes of half-formed ideas, memories unfinished, emotions unspoken. The wind sounded like laughter turning to sobs, then back again. This was where the forgotten dream had gone, the one Solon and I first found tangled in the sea mist. I saw it now, caught in a swirl of memory currents. It thrashed, not cruelly, but as if trying to hold on. Its shape kept changing, a song, a doorway, a pair of hands reaching. I clutched the moon thread tight and stood. You don't have to be alone, I called out. I see you." The dream didn't hear at first, so I sang. Not a song I knew, but one the sea gave me. It came from somewhere deeper, a lullaby made of threads, stars, and stories never told. My voice shook, but I kept singing. The storm paused, just for a beat. The dream turned. Slowly, it saw me. Its form steadied, became clearer. A child standing at a window, waiting, hoping, a dream of reunion, of someone never saying goodbye. Tears filled my eyes. "Whose dream were you?" I asked. The dream whispered, "A little boy who waited for a father who left one night and never came back. He dreamed every night that he'd return. But years passed. He stopped dreaming. He stopped believing." I swallowed the lump in my throat. "But you still remember?" "I do. I remember for him." The dream reached out, not for me, but for the thread in my hand. I tied the moon thread around its wrist like a bracelet. "Then let's help you find a new dreamer, or maybe help him remember." The sea softened around us. The storm unraveled, strand by strand. By the time I turned the lullaby boat back toward the lighthouse, the dreaming sea was calm. Dreams floated gently by, some new, some old, all shimmering with the soft light of being remembered. The moon thread map no longer glowed, but my heart did. I leaned back and let the sea carry me. I thought of the laughter kite, the nightmare with soft eyes, the wistful child dream with his toy boat, and the longing that never gave up. All of them had been part of someone once. Maybe they still were. And I was a girl who dreamed too much, who once wandered to the edge of the sea, hoping for quiet. Instead, I found a lighthouse made of moonlight, and a keeper named Solon who believed I could help guide dreams home. Now I believed it too. As the lighthouse beam caught my boat in its silvery sweep, I closed my eyes and whispered, "I'll remember you all." And the dreams, drifting beside me, whispered back, "We remember you too." The wind had quieted. Even the dreaming sea, always shifting, always whispering, lay in still hush beneath my boat of lullabies. I felt it in my chest before I saw it. A tug, soft as a thread pulled through fabric, steady and certain. The dream I had been seeking waited ahead. I dipped my hand over the side, letting the silvery mist trail through my fingers, and whispered, "I'm ready." The little boat curved around a bend made of music and memory. This part of the sea had no waves, only a mirror-smooth surface that reflected the sky too perfectly, as though it wasn't water at all, but something more fragile. I breathed slowly, feeling the closeness of something long left behind. There it was, floating just above the surface. A pale shape, crumpled slightly like a folded note forgotten in a drawer. It pulsed faintly, a dim, flickering light at its core. Not like the other dreams I'd found, the ones shaped like laughter or songs or wistful shadows. This one was quieter, deeper. I leaned over and gathered it gently into my arms. It was cold, not a frightening cold, but one that came from too much silence. As I held it, it trembled, then settled against my chest like a child who had waited too long to be remembered. And in that moment, I knew. This dream was mine. A vision surged through me, clearer than moonlight, a meadow of gold grass, a paper kite shaped like a phoenix soaring into a sunrise. My voice, younger, laughing as I ran barefoot through a world I believed in with my whole fragile heart. I had dreamed once of being a weaver of light, of guiding something beautiful home, but something, doubt, growing older, maybe both, had made me let it go. I had buried the dream so deeply that even I had forgotten it belonged to me. But it had waited. I held it tighter, whispering, "I'm sorry I left you behind." It shimmered softly in response, as if forgiving me. The journey back to the lighthouse was slower than before. The mist didn't rush, the sea didn't sing. It was as if the world itself was holding its breath. I sat with my dream nestled in my lap, both of us mending. When I reached the shore, the lighthouse stood taller than I remembered. Its silver glow spilled outward like moon thread unraveling into the world. Solon was waiting. "You found it," he said simply, looking at the bundle in my arms. I nodded, tears slipping down without me noticing. It was mine. It still is. Solon smiled, and I saw something in his eyes I hadn't noticed before. A quiet longing, a readiness to let go. "Then it's time," he said, stepping aside. Together we walked the spiral stairs, the light sweeping gently across the sea with every slow rotation. At the top, wind tugged at my hair as if it too wanted to see what would happen next. I stepped into the beam. The dream fluttered in my hands. Its shape began to change. From something small and soft and hidden, it stretched into something luminous. Wings unfolded, silver and sheer like moonlight woven into flight. It hovered before me, no longer trembling. And then it soared. Up into the sky, leaving behind a trail of light that spiraled like joy. The night seemed to sigh with relief. I watched until I could no longer tell the difference between my dream and a star. Solon placed a hand on my shoulder. "Do you see now?" I turned to him. His face was gentle, proud, and tinged with farewell. "This place needs you," he said, "and you're ready." I wanted to protest. I wanted to ask what he would do now, or if I would see him again, but some part of me already knew the answers. Solon had been the keeper until I could remember, and now that I had, "I'll take care of it," I said quietly. He nodded. Then, with a smile that carried lifetimes, he turned and walked down the stairs, fading into the mist without a sound. That night I stood alone in the lighthouse. The beam turned steadily, brushing the sky, the sea, and the dreams caught between them. I felt the rhythm of it settle into me. I wasn't just watching anymore, I was part of it. A gentle knocking sound brought my attention to the window. I opened it, and a small dream shaped like a folded crane flitted in, flapping awkwardly. It hovered, unsure. I reached out, cupping it in my hands. "You're not lost anymore." I placed it into the light, and off it went. It became a new kind of night. Night after night, dreams arrived. Some came as songs without melodies. Others were pieces of stories waiting for endings. There were dreams full of sorrow, of forgotten childhoods, of wishes whispered and never spoken aloud. Each one I welcomed, each one I held until it remembered its shape, and when they were ready I guided them to the beam, and they flew. Sometimes children would pass the cliffs and point up, wondering why the lighthouse shone even on clear nights. I'd hear their laughter carried by the wind. Other times, a breeze would bring a whisper from someone far away. I remember something I thought I'd lost. It made me smile. But even as the keeper, I still dreamed. I still wandered the dreaming sea in my little lullaby boat, finding dreams tangled in stardust and mist. And once I found a dream shaped like a memory of my mother's voice. I listened to it sing. I began to understand. Keeping dreams wasn't about fixing them. It was about helping them feel safe enough to shine again. Sometimes I would climb to the top of the tower and sit beside the great lens, letting the beam of moonlight pass through me. It warmed me now. It knew me. And when I closed my eyes, I saw the silver-winged star still flying. My dream. My first quiet, brave dream. I no longer feared believing too deeply. Because every dream that passed through my hands whispered a truth I would never again forget. Dreams don't disappear, they wait. They wait for us to come back. And when we do, they soar. And that ends tonight's meditation. You're welcome to stay for a bit longer if you like. Have a beautiful night. Until next time.